Sandor, the Hound Clegane, not anymore. So Thoros of Myr raised Beric Dondarrion, even though Thoros had never even believed in R'hllor up until that point. And the Hound saw visions in the flames in the show. The Hound is not a follower of R'hllor.
No fire!
He's a follower of the Seven. How'd they do that stuff? Because the gods are not real.
I think mothers and fathers made up the gods because they wanted their children to sleep through the night.
How can you deny her god is real?
And bloodlines are not that important. Anyone can access different types of blood magic under the right circumstances. Take dragon bonding as an example. Sure, Valyrians bonded the most dragons, but be wary of causation and correlation. It's not as if the Starks had dragon eggs or dragons to try to bond with in the first place. Neither did the Commonborn. So of course the Highborn Valyrians are historically the ones to bond the dragons. They were the only ones who had the opportunity to do so, until the dance, when they panicked and then Nettles bonded a dragon, even though Nettles did not seem to have any Valyrian blood. Blood magic's real, and anyone can do it under the right circumstances. Here's something that I never realized until today. The Hound is a warg. But real quick, thank you to Lumba Domingos and Steeler Susan Aguiar for becoming channel members, and Mary Popovich and Noam Rossler for helping in the campaign to save a child's life. Thanks guys. Alright, let's review the basics of warging, the costs that come along with this type of blood magic. The Faceless Men of the House of Black and White tells Arya in the books that all sorcery comes at a cost. If it were easy, all men would do it, alluding to the fact that all men can do it. It's just not that easy, and thus, it's not that common. But all magic in this story is blood magic, and the cost of this type of blood magic, of warging, is an exchange of souls. The warger and the wargee exchange traits. Wolves wed women for life. You take one, that's a marriage. The wolf is part of you from that day on, and you're part of him. Both of you will change. Elk and deer were prey, wear their skins too long, and even the bravest man became a coward. Why? Because you exchange part of your soul with the animal. You adopt the animal's traits. We saw this with Rickon and Shaggy Dog. When the War of the Five Kings broke out, Rickon was neglected, a 3 or 4-year-old kid who was having dreams of his dead father before he even dies, and the kid was neglected. So Rickon became wild, and as a result, Shaggy Dog became as wild as Rickon. Shaggy Dog ended up biting several people. The same thing seems to have happened with Sandor's horse Stranger, my favorite horse in the entire series. Stranger's temper was as black as he was, a temper similar to Sandor's temper. Arya had never known a horse so quick to bite or kick. She learned this because she had tried to steal Stranger when Sandor was off going pee-pee, and Stranger almost bit off her face. But Stranger was as gentle as an old gelding with Sandor. Stranger tried to kick the ferryman before they crossed the Trident. He bit the squire's horse as they approached the twins, and Stranger did kick Brother Ronnie, breaking his shin bone in 2 places. Stranger also bit off Brother Gillem's ear at the Quiet Isle, which is why Brother Narbert said that Stranger was whelped in hell. But here's the kicker. Brother Narbert said that Stranger had his master's nature. Stranger had Sandor's nature. This is a clear nod to the soul sharing or the cost of warging. An animal and its master adopting traits from one another. Rickon and Shaggy Dog did it, and Sandor and Stranger seem to have done it too. We see this soul swap bleed over to the way in which Stranger treats Arya during the different phases of their journey. In the beginning, Sandor used to tie Arya up at night so that she couldn't run away or try to kill him. Sandor and Arya did not have a good relationship at the start, but after the Red Wedding, Sandor gets Arya her own horse, one that fled from the battle the same as them. Sandor no longer bound to Arya up at night, and he no longer watched her as closely as he once had. Sometimes, Sandor did not seem to care whether Arya stayed or went. So Sandor's disposition undergoes a drastic change after the Red Wedding. He relaxes his hold on Arya, he lets down his guard, and Stranger does the exact same thing. Before the Red Wedding, Stranger tried to bite her face off when she tried to escape with him. But after the Red Wedding, when Sandor let down his guard, Arya begins feeding both horses, giving them both water. Arya even began to groom Stranger. They spend a little time at a village, and then Arya is so comfortable at this point with Stranger that she imagines escaping and bringing Stranger with her. This is in stark contrast to the old Stranger, the one who tried to bite her face off before the Red Wedding, before Sandor let his guard down. So Sandor is probably a warg. He bonded with Stranger, and they are exchanging their souls and their traits. Sandor just doesn't know that he's doing all this. This happens with a lot of people like Bran, Jon, and Arya. They had wolf dreams many times before they really understood what was going on. And to take it a step further, this would not be the first time that someone unknowingly warged a horse. Dany unknowingly bonded with her silver filly all the way back in book 1 and season 1. The silver filly was a beautiful horse, my second favorite horse in the entire story. The first time she gave it a light touch was the first moment in her entire life when Dany wasn't afraid. The moment, or the filly, filled Dany with a daring that she had never known. She gave the filly her head. A clear play on words. She warged it, and she adopted some of its strength and courage. So the silver filly's an unsung hero. The filly gave Dany a little power boost that helped Dany break free of her own figurative chains, and subsequently allowed Dany to grow into the amazing young woman who broke the chains for countless others. Let's hear it for the silver filly. Now, a few events take on new meaning if the Hound is a warg, like his fight at the Twins when Stranger spun and barely saved Sandor's life, the way Sandor would wake up right before Arya was about to kill him 2 times, and the way that Sandor used to sleep while riding. He may have been unknowingly controlling their course from a horse dream. Pretty cool. But here's the most interesting one of them all. You'll see what I mean because George R.R. Martin uses some very peculiar wording here. So the Red Wedding happens, and Arya's pissed. Well, she's heartbroken or just broken. There's a hole inside her every morning when she woke. It wasn't hunger, though sometimes there was that too. It was a hollow place, an emptiness where her heart had been, where her brothers had lived, and her parents. Some mornings, Arya did not want to wake at all. She would huddle beneath her cloak with her eyes squeezed shut and try to will herself back to sleep. If the Hound would only have left her alone, she would have slept all day and night. That is some sad stuff. Arya's sad, and she's pissed at the Hound, pissed that he would not let her run inside the castle to her mother. But one night, Arya has a wolf dream where she's Nymeria, the dire wolf. As Nymeria, Arya swims out into the river and she pulls her mother's dead body ashore, the start of Lady Stoneheart. The next morning, Arya wakes up before Sandor does for the first time. When Sandor wakes up, his softer side comes out. He's thinking about where they left off the night before with her mother. So the first thing he says is, "This thing about your mother, ... and Arya cuts him off saying, "It doesn't matter. I know she's dead. I saw her in a dream." Look at the next line. The Hound looked at her a long time, then nodded. No more was said of it. That line always felt weird to me because he looked at her a long time before nodding and moving on. The pause may have been Sandor finally understanding that his strange dreams were not just dreams, that magic's real, that he's a warg. Now, regardless of how you feel about all that stuff, the fact of the matter is, Sandor loved Stranger. That's why he went back out after he saved Sansa during the riot in King's Landing, and he saved him. Stranger was his boy. And similarly, Stranger did not run away from Sandor as he lay dying there. Stranger stayed by his master's side until the elder brother came and saved him, loyal to the end. They're one of a kind, in more ways than one. Stranger's personality matches Sandor's, and that's a sign that Sandor is a warg, even if he does not realize it. For all we know, Sandor's grandfather may have been a warg. His grandfather was the Lannisters' kennel master, the man who saved Jaime Lannister's grandfather from a lion by himself and 3 dogs. He may have warged those dogs, because dogs are the easiest beasts to bond with. They live so close to men that they were almost human. Slipping into a dog skin was like putting on an old boot. It's leather softened by wear. As a boot was shaped to accept a foot, a dog was shaped to accept a collar, even a collar no human eye could see. We've seen people warg wolves and an eagle, and in the books, a bear, a shadow cat, a boar, and a goat. But the easiest animal to warg is a dog. So how come we've never seen that? Well, we have. Ramsay and Sansa both did it in the show, but even before then, we saw it in the books. The Hound warged the coolest dog in the whole story. Septim Meribald's dog named, well, he never told Meribald his name, so Meribald calls him Dog. It's a funny line, but don't let the humor distract you. There may be a hidden message there. Pod asked Meribald, who does the dog belong to? And Maribald says, why, to himself. It's almost as if George R.R. Martin is setting up that dog to belong to someone, so to say. And my bet is the Hound, because at one point, Dog walks over to the gravedigger, who is the Hound, and the gravedigger scratches his ear. This may be the moment that they bond. We'll get back to it, it's pretty important. We've got two more things before we connect all the dots here. First, Brienne and Sandor. In the show, they crossed paths pretty early. They fought. That didn't happen in the books. Instead, Sandor suffers from some bad injuries after the fight at the inn. But Sandor and Brienne come close to meeting in the books. Sandor is living a new life at the Quiet Isle. It's a place similar to this place in the show. He's the gravedigger, which is symbolic because he's sort of burying the Hound, burying his old identity. So Brienne gets there and she tells the elder brother that she's after the Hound because supposedly the Hound is going around killing people and he's got a Stark girl. The elder brother sits Brienne down and he lies to her. He tells her that the Hound was a tormented man, but he's dead now. He buried him himself. He basically tells Brienne to let it go. So what I'm getting at is that Brienne and Sandor do cross paths in the show, and in the books, they are destined to cross paths, truly cross paths. Because she did walk right by him at the Quiet Isle, and he almost threw some dirt on them, but their stories haven't truly crossed yet. But they will. And here's the last piece before we solve this puzzle. To understand this final part, you need to have a good understanding of Brienne. Her entire journey is burdened by her mistrust towards others, specifically men. Because as a child, men lied to her. They gave her false compliments like, "You're pretty," but Septa Roel told her, "Look in the mirror and you'll see the truth." They are liars. They compliment you for one reason, to earn your Lord Father's favor. So that scarred her, and then she grows up and people keep treating her like crap just because she's ugly and she likes fighting. At Renly's camp, they had a secret betting game to see who could get in her pants. It was pretty messed up, but don't worry, she got some revenge. Remember the tourney in season 2? Well, in that melee, Brienne sought out all those false suitors, the men who had had that betting game to see who could get in her pants, and she brought the wrath. She kicked their asses. But even so, a life of insult has left her jaded, so her entire solo journey in Book 4, searching for Sansa, it's marked by mistrust of men. She didn't trust Nimbledick, but as she buried him, she regret that, and she apologized to his corpse. And she didn't trust Sir Hyle, especially Sir Hyle, since Sir Hyle was one of the false suitors from that betting game that we just mentioned. She mistrusts Sir Hyle so much that she even questioned Septa Maribald for a moment, and there's no one more trustworthy than Maribald. And here's the third guy. Last but not least, Brienne did not trust the Hound. She did not know him, and she's never met him yet. But she's heard all these stories about him, how he's out ravaging the Riverlands and killing innocent people, when really, it was someone else who had found the Hound's Houndhead helm. So that's the final point. Brienne's subplot, while searching for the Stark Girls, involves a huge struggle to trust men. This is important from a storytelling perspective, trust me. So here we go, the good stuff. Brienne leaves the Quiet Isle. She's in search of the Stark Girls and the Hound. She runs into Gendry and she gets attacked by none other than the man who is wearing the Hound's Houndhead helmet, Rorge. Very ironic. Now, right before Brienne passes out from wounds that she takes in that fight, she hears two things: dog barking and Sir Hyle Hunt fighting. So the Hound is a warg, but he didn't understand his dreams until Arya told him about her own dreams. Dogs are the easiest beast to bond with, yet no one has. So someone is probably going to bond a dog in this story. Conveniently, we've got a guy named the Hound, Dog. And we've also got George R.R. Martin introducing a dog named, well, they called him Dog because he never said his name, and more importantly, George R.R. Martin highlighted that the dog belongs to no one, in a general sense. But since dogs are the easiest animals to warg, this may be a clue that dog will belong to someone someday, and who better than Sandor the Hound Clegane. They may have bonded during that moment on the Quiet Isle when Dog walked up to him and Sandor scratched his ear. We also know that Brienne and Sandor are destined to truly cross paths. I mean, at one point, Jaime calls Brienne the Hound with teats. Their stories are definitely going to run into one another. And last, we know that Brienne does not trust men, specifically Sir Hyle and Sandor. So Brienne is attacked by the man who is wearing the Hound's Houndhead helm, and then she passes out. She hears two things: dog barking and Sir Hyle fighting. Sir Hyle, one of the two men whom Brienne did not trust. he joined the fight. So I hypothesize that the second thing she hears, dog barking, that's a clue that Sandor was having a dog dream. Sandor saw the man attack her while wearing his own dog head helm. So in poetic fashion, the other man that Brienne has been misjudging, Sandor Clegane, he's going to make an epic reappearance in the next book, The Winds of Winter, by showing up to join the fight, just like Sir Hyle did. This is the epic event that we've all been waiting for. Lady Stoneheart, Brienne, and Sir Jaime of House Lannister, and now Sandor Clegane. This will mark the start of Sandor's journey with the Brotherhood in the books. Sandor the Hound Clegane.
A hound!
Nah, it's just Sandor Clegane now, dog.